and incisive and in-depth analysis on issues where we sometimes challenge conventional thinking. And it is a segment we hope will have an impact on the future of Africa going forward. We are in the middle of a global crisis occasioned by the COVID-19. This crisis has so far had a huge impact on health, and it is also emerging that it is having a huge impact on the global economy. And if you are coming across this channel for the first time, kindly subscribe, like, and leave a comment. The global challenge and the economy is reeling out of the crisis. Multinationals, middle-level companies, and even small and medium-sized enterprises, and even individuals are challenged economically. It is for this reason, therefore, that I want us to explore and see how one can navigate out of the crisis safely financially. There is a small detail in financial planning called an emergency fund. What is an emergency fund? An emergency fund is a pool of liquid money set aside to cater for unexpected expenses. In other words, an emergency fund is money set aside to cater for what is not budgeted for. For example, if you are driving and your car breaks down, if you are cooking and your gas goes suddenly off, unexpected sickness of a child, of a spouse, those are emergencies. What is the importance of having an emergency fund? I've gathered 5 points on the importance of having an emergency fund. Point number 1. An emergency fund cushions you against adding debt to meet your financial obligations. Supposing you get an emergency, you're driving and your car suddenly breaks off. Your child or your spouse falls sick. This is a time you stop. If you didn't have money, you have to call a friend to come through for you. So, in order not to incur debt, the emergency fund can come in handy and help you sort your problem. Point number 2. The emergency fund must strictly be used for emergency purposes. So, an emergency is something that can alter your normal life. If you are walking in town and you see a burger or a nice dress, that is not and cannot be an emergency. It has to be something that can alter your normal life, and therefore this fund is strictly meant for that. Number 3, experts recommend that an emergency fund should last for 3 to 6 months. The reason for this is that if you have an emergency, like you lose a job, this period for 6 months, it can give you enough time to reorganize your finances and to look for new ways of earning money. And therefore, the period between 6 and 3 months can be good enough. You can relax, you can stay normal life. So this emergency fund should cater for expenses, living expenses for all this period of time. Point number 4. An emergency fund should how much money should you put in an emergency fund? Now, how much money you should put to an emergency fund depends on your income, it depends on your lifestyle and dependence. In his book, The Total Money Makeover, Dave Ramsey recommends that you put aside $1,000. This is as a starting point for your emergency fund. This is relatively 100,000 shillings, Kenyan money. Once you put this money aside, you can therefore now build on it until to a point where, for example, you have up to 6 months of emergency expenses. This means therefore, if you spend 100,000 shillings per month, you need about 300,000 shillings to 600,000 shillings. Where should you put this money? Now, an emergency fund kitty is not supposed to be mixed with your other finances. It's supposed to be separate strictly for emergencies. And therefore, you need to put it somewhere you cannot touch it. You only touch it when truly there is an emergency. And therefore, I recommend that you put this money in a money markets or in a high yield saving account where you can easily reach it when you need it. I don't know what you think about this content. If you like this video, give a thumbs up. You can leave a comment and you can subscribe to the channel, and we can always discuss.